He wants to destroy you.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you tonight, if you've got any power with God, if you've got any relationship with God, if you're trying to do anything for the glory of God, He makes it personal. Listen, He's out to destroy you. If you're doing something for God, Satan is out to destroy you. Might as well just look in the mirror and see who he's out to destroy. I don't just think he's over here destroying, or he's over there being destructive. He's out to destroy you tonight. I'll go ahead and say this. Hope don't make too many people mad. If you're not doing anything for God, if you don't have no relationship with God, if you don't have no testimony, no power with God, if you're not doing anything to spread the gospel or help the church, don't worry. Satan ain't going to bother you. He's got you right where he wants you. Amen. He's got you right where he wants you. Friends, tonight, let me tell you, your enemy, Satan, the devil, he's a destroyer tonight. We got to fight strategically. We can't just go out and fight. Amen. We've got to fight strategically. We've got to identify the enemy. We got to know who he is tonight. Amen. We know he's Satan tonight. We got to know what he is. Just what kind of enemy are we facing when he's a liar? He's a thief and he's a destroyer. Then we got to know where the enemy is. Amen. Let me tell you where he is. That spiritual wickedness in high places. Let me tell you where he is. Sometimes he's right here. Amen. Sometimes he's right here. Sometimes he's right in your face. He's right in the middle of your way. Sometimes, just like Jesus said in Luke 22 and 31, and the Lord said, Simon, Simon, behold, Satan hath desired to have you, that he may sift you as wheat. Sometimes he's right here. Amen. Sometimes, as soon as you step out the door, he's right here. You got to know where the enemy is. Amen. You got to know where he is. You can't go off to battle if you don't know where the enemy is. You can't go off and war a good warfare if you don't know where the enemy is. Sometimes he's right here. Sometimes he's right here in your face. Sometimes he's working somewhere else to hinder us. Amen. Sometimes he's not right here. Amen. Sometimes he's not right here. Sometimes he's somewhere else working on the other end that he might hinder you. Daniel chapter number 10. Daniel chapter number 10, verse number 12. Then said he unto me, Fear not, Daniel, for from the first day that thou didst set thine heart to understand and to chasten thyself before God, thy words were heard, and I am come to thy words. But the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me 21 days. But lo, Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me, and I remained there with the king of Persia. Notice what he says. But the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me. Sometimes Satan's right here. Sometimes Satan is on the other end, working to hinder you. Sometimes Satan is on the other side. Listen, trying to hinder you. You gotta know where the enemy is. You gotta understand where the enemy is. You gotta know if he's not right here, he's somewhere else coming at you with some other angle. Amen. If he's not right here, he's somewhere else coming at some other angle to hinder you. You got to know where the enemy is. Sometimes he's not here. Sometimes he's not right over there. Sometimes he goes before God and accuses you. I want you to know where your enemy is. Amen. He goes before God and accuses you. He goes before God and he just tells all he can think to come up with about you tonight or about me. Revelation 12, verse number 10. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, Now is come salvation, strength, and the kingdom of our God, and the power of his Christ, for the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our God day and night. I want you to know tonight, sometimes the devil's right here. Sometimes he's right in your face. Other times, he's on the other side, working against you. When he's not here, don't let your guard down, amen. When he's not right here, don't think he's giving you a break. He's somewhere else doing something to hinder you. And I want you to know tonight that he goes before God. He goes before God and accuses you. The enemy tonight goes before God and accuses you. But I'm glad tonight I've got one that stands. I've got one that stands in the very throne room of God. I've got a great high priest. I've got, listen, a mediator tonight. I've got an advocate. When that old devil goes and accuses me, I've got one that stands up. He says he's mine. He's bought, he's paid for, and he's covered by the blood. Let me tell you where your enemy is tonight. You got to know where he's at. Too often than not, we think he's out here in all these cesspools in the world. Too often than not, we picture Satan that he's down at the bars and all these other ungodly places. That ain't always true. Amen. That ain't always true. Sometimes he's right there with you. Amen. You gotta know where your enemy is. We've identified the enemy tonight. We know where he is. We know what he is. We know who he is tonight. Last but not least, we gotta know what his tactics are. Amen. We've got to know how he fights. How do we expect to war a good warfare if we don't know who the enemy is? If we don't know what the enemy is? If we don't know where the enemy is? And if we don't know what his tactics are? How are we going to war a good warfare? How can we go off, naturally speaking, and fight an enemy that we didn't know who it is? Amen. How can we go off and expect to fight a good fight if we didn't know what our enemy was? If we didn't know where our enemy was? And if we didn't know what his tactics are? Let me give you an illustration. Vietnam War. Let me give you another one. War on terrorism in Iraq and Afghanistan. The biggest problem, couldn't identify the enemy. Amen. Couldn't identify the enemy, couldn't put your finger on it. Amen. We didn't know exactly who he was. See where the problem starts? You don't know who the enemy is. You don't know who it is you're fighting. The problem is going to start. But it's hard to identify. Then you don't know who they are. You don't fully understand what they are. Had no idea that they was fanatical as they are. Had no idea in Vietnam that they was as ruthless as they were. We didn't know what kind of people they were. We didn't know what kind of enemy that we was facing. Didn't know where they are. Iraq, Afghanistan. You don't know where they are. They're somewhere in that region, I guarantee you that. They can be right next door. They can be right with you. Not knowing where the enemy is. Well, that's trouble, ain't it? And not knowing what his tactics are. Not knowing how the enemy fights. Not knowing what his tactics are. Well, that's trouble there. We've got to be strategic. We've got to identify the enemy tonight. We got to know who he is. We got to know what he is. We got to know where he is. We need to know what his tactics are. Amen. We got to know what his tactics are. We're going to war a good warfare. I'm thankful that I can tell you we know what his tactics are. 2 Corinthians 2:11, let Satan get an advantage of us, but we're not ignorant of his devices. It just so happens we've been given the answer right here. We know what his tactics are. A good military strategy is to study past battles and past wars. Amen. A good strategy is to study up on your enemy, what he done in the past. Amen. Let me tell you a good strategy for a child of God. Study up. Read this blessed book. It'll give you the tactics of your enemy tonight. He's not changed. He uses the same thing that he always uses. We're not ignorant of his devices. We know what his tactics are. We know how he fights tonight. One of his tactics tonight is deception. Satan uses deception. Amen. Satan uses deception. That's to cause to believe in untruth. That's one of his tactics. Deception. Cause you to believe in untruth. False doctrines, false religions, just lies. He's deceiving folks by the multitude. His tactics for warring against you is deception. He's trying to deceive you. He's trying to cause you to believe a lie, an untruth tonight. He wants you to believe something that's founded on anything but the truth. His tactics tonight is deception. And then it's division. He wants to divide and conquer. He wants to divide and conquer. He wants to get you all by yourself. Amen. He wants to get you all by yourself. You heard those saying there's strength in numbers? For a child of God, gain strength when we gather with our brothers and sisters in Christ. Well, we draw from one another, don't we? We draw strength from one another. What Satan wants to do is he wants to divide you. He wants to cause a rift right here. Get you two separated. He wants to cause division over here. Get this separated. Get these separated. He wants to get you alone. He wants to get you all by yourself. He wants to get you in a position like Noah Elijah, where you just throw up your hands. Say, well, that's it. I'm done. I'm finished. I'm the only one that's left. Satan wants you to get to that point. Satan wants you to believe that you're the only one left. He wants to get you off to yourself. Or you think that you're the only one. Trust me, I fight him on this all the time. He tells me all the time, why bother? Nobody else cares. Why bother? It don't matter to nobody else. Satan wants to divide and conquer. He wants you to get all by yourself. Where you can't lean upon one another. Where you can't draw strength. Where you're looking to yourself and not looking to the Lord. He wants to divide and conquer. He wants to separate you. He wants to make you think you're the only one. It's just you and nobody else. He does that by turning us against one another. He wants to divide. He uses deception, he uses division. And then he does it by diluting. Amen. He does it by diluting. That means to lessen the consistency or strength by mixing with something else. Or as we say in East Tennessee, watering it down. Or sweeten it up. When you take the Word of God, you start mixing it with something else. He's diluting the Word of God. Amen. He's diluting the Word of God. It's taking away. Listen, it's weakening the effect that it has on people now. It's weakening the fact or the impact it has on people's lives. You get all these new philosophies, you get all these new revisions, you can get all these new ideas where he's watered down the Word of God. Where you got folks believing that the Word of God, that the Bible tonight, they don't even believe it's the inspired Word of God. Well, you can see how that's diluted. You can see how that's mixing something with it, taking away from it. It got folks believing tonight, listen, that sin really ain't sin anymore. What used to be a long time ago used to be sin. Really today, it ain't sin anymore. See what happens when you start watering it down, you start sweetening it up. That's a tactic that Satan uses. That's a tactic that our enemy uses to fight against you and I. He wants to tell you sin ain't sin anymore. You got a lot of folks believing that, don't he? You got a lot of folks believing evil ain't evil anymore. It's really not evil. Hollywood is one of his big tools that he uses. Hollywood is one of his big tools that he uses to dilute the Word of God. I'll tell you what I'm talking about. You take all this ungodliness that's out there, you'll find it displayed by Hollywood. Put on the big screen. Satan's got it to now. I'm just going to be blunt with you. I don't know any other way to be. Satan's got it to now that it's all right. It's all right to have sex before you're married. It's all right. It's widely accepted. It's widely accepted. Homosexuality, it's all right. It's widely accepted. There's TV shows out there that depicts a family with parents of the same sex. 2 moms and 2 dads. You see, he's diluting what the Word of God says. He's watering it down. He's got folks to believe it. He's got folks to accept it. That's a tactic that he uses. Listen, they glorify alcohol. Amen. That's a good place for the Baptist to stand up and say amen. They glorify alcohol. And they glorify sex. Sex and alcohol, sex and drugs. And they glorify it. And they take it out of context. And they present it as something good. when you know there's something in it. He's
Yeah.
diluting
Right.
the tactics that our enemy uses tonight. The tactics that he uses tonight. Deception, division, and diluting tonight. We know how to fight the enemy because we know how he fights. Amen. We know how to fight the enemy tonight. Principles of war. How to fight. We know how to fight the enemy tonight because we know how he fights. We've identified the enemy tonight. We can strategically war a good warfare. We can strategically fight a good fight of faith because we've identified the enemy. We know who he is. We know what he is. We know where he is. And we know what his tactics are. We're going to war a good warfare. We're going to war a good warfare. And we've got to fight strategically tonight. Stand with me if you will. Buddy, Sister Claire, if you would, first to a song. We're going to war a good warfare.